kind of slow. Oh, already got some emails. Great. Yeah, they're, like I said, their website tend to be slow. Okay, I guess I'll come back to that later. So the next thing is, if you want to try to install BotSlayer by yourself, we would really suggest you to use AWS, which is the cloud service from Amazon. You can quickly create a free account. Just search Google AWS. It's gonna lead you to the Amazon AWS webpage, and you can create a free account real quick. I think if you have an Amazon account, you can use that too. And it's gonna give you a free tier machine, which you can later use to install the BotSlayer instance. So that's another thing. And looks like the Rapid API webpage is loaded. So this is how it looks like. I think you can, use your GitHub or Facebook or Google accounts to log in, and should be real quick. Or you can sign up using your email. So the last one is Python environment. So if later you want to also try to access the Botometer API, we will recommend, and I will actually demonstrate using Python to do that. And if you want to follow me and do it at the same time, it's recommended that you have a Python environment on your machine. So if you haven't got it, I would suggest you to use the Anaconda distribution, and it's also really easy to get. Just Google Anaconda. Remember to add Python, otherwise you're gonna see a lot of real anacondas. So you just go to their website, and I think it's download, and it's gonna show you, you can choose, based on your operating system, you can choose different things. For example, I'm using a Mac, I can, just choose one of these and download and install it real quick, and then it's gonna work. So I think that's all of the pre-arrival preparation. Again, you can use the rest of the tutorial to just, get ready for this. We're gonna have breaks and have some Q&A sessions. You can use that. Okay, I think that's done for this part, and we are almost on time for the next session. So here we're gonna start to officially start our tutorial of our tools. And the first one is gonna be a Botometer web interface introduction and hands-on. With hands-on. So before I start, let me do a kind of a little background introduction. So why do we care about bot detection at all? Excuse me. So according to our definition, social bots are social media accounts that are controlled partially or completely by algorithms. So there are a lot of recent studies showing that social bots are involved in the online discussion of many important critical issues, from elections to public health issues to financial issues. If you are like me, who are using social media every day, or even using social media data to do research, you might want to be mindful that not every message you see online, or not every data point you collected online are from a genuine user. It might be from bots. And that's why the bot detection can be really useful, where you can basically filter out those inauthentic signals. Or there are a lot of studies that focus on social bots, and you will need a tool to sort of identify them. That's why we find such tool can be really useful. And indeed, we have a lot of clicks and visit requests every day at our end. So we believe a lot of people are actually find it useful. Also, since I already did the pre-arrival check, so for this part to work, at least you will need a Twitter account. So I'm gonna assume you already have one. So I'm gonna start. So I'm gonna use my browser here. In order to use Botometer web interface, you simply just need to go to our website. You can do so by typing botometer.org. It's gonna lead you there, or you can simply, just Google Botometer. It's gonna looks like we are. Okay, the first one, still the first one. Okay, we did a good job of SEO. So you're gonna go to this web page. So you can see it's actually pretty simple. Let me start to show you how you can use it. In order to use this tool, you are gonna first need to sign in your Twitter account and authorize the Botometer to use the data from your account. I'll explain why, but let me do that. Looks like after I click this, I'm already signed in, but let me use a private window to do so, to show you the full process. Okay, I think I'm in a private window, and if I try to log in here, it's gonna ask me to sign in my Twitter account and authorize Botometer web check to access my account. So I'm gonna do so. Please be aware that you can see what our app are going to do with this authentication. So you'll see it only requires read permission. So basically, it's gonna see your timeline, it's gonna see your profile, see the accounts you follow, but it's not gonna make any change to your account. So you don't have to worry about we're doing bad things, because where this authentication doesn't allow that. Okay, I'm gonna basically authorize the app, and okay, I'm logged in, and now I'm good to go. So in order to use it to check account, it's really simple. You just type in the screen name of the account you want to check on Twitter here. So for example, I'm gonna use myself. This is myself. I'm gonna use myself to demonstrate. I type in my screen name. I just click check user. And now what it happened is, the web page have some JavaScript. It's gonna go to Twitter to fetch the most recent 200 tweets from my profile. And also, if other people are mentioning me, it's gonna get all those tweets too, and then send the information to our own server, the Botometer server hosted at IU. And then the server is going to, basically analyze all the data and do an evaluation and return what we call the bot scores here. And then this is the result basically you're seeing right now. So you can see for me, I'm getting a bot score of 1.3 out of 5. Our definition is that lower score means human-like, and high score means bot-like. So it looks like I'm on the human side, which is pretty good because I know I'm not a bot. And nice thing is you can have much more information than this. You can simply click the result here, and it's gonna give you more information. So let me quickly walk you through what all those numbers are. So basically, in addition to the overall bot score, we also have 6 what we call sub-scores. What it works is, Botometer is a machine learning tool. Based on the tweets and all the information, it will extract over 1,000 features. And try to do some evaluation. And all those 1,000 features can be, we have different categories of the features. For example, the content features, it's based on the tweet content I have. It's basically using NLP technology to get, for example, the part of the speech and do some statistics of that and use that as a feature. So that's the content score. And we also have a sentiment score, which is basically doing sentiment analysis of my content and generate another score. We also have some language independent features. For example, we have the friends, which is, some people may be retweeting retweeting me or mentioning me, and Botometer is going to see, oh, what's their status, how many friends they have, how many followers they have, what's their language, so, things like that, and generate a score. And we have network features too. We can, reconstruct the retweet or mentioning network, and we can do some degree or network density kind of analysis and generate some features to get a score for the networks. And we have the temporal score, which is basically the time series of my actions. And the user score is based on the metadata. For example, am I using a default background image, or am I having some digits in my screen name? What's the length of my screen name? What about my description? Things like that. And hopefully, this subscore will give you a better understanding of, if an account is sort of suspicious, why is that? So those are the subscores. On this side, we also have what we call the overall score. So here you see the score is based on all features. So this is the one you see here. And we also have language independent score because some language specific features only works on English, but not every user on Twitter is speaking English. So for those users, we might exclude those English specific features. And those language independent score is using all the feature except those English based features. And if you're dealing with some non-English accounts, you probably want to use the language independent score. And actually, the webpage will try to guess what the user is saying. For example, for me, I'm mainly tweeting English, so it's going to show you the English score here. We also have something called complete automation probability, or we call it CAP score. So we have this. The reason is that originally the bot score for us is we show bot score in the scale of 0 to 1, and a lot of people think it's a probability, but in fact it's not. It's a score generated by the machine learning model. So that's why we rescale the bot score to 0 to 5 to sort of make it less like a probability. But people still want to know, what's the likelihood, what's the probability an account is a bot. So that's why we have this. And the nice thing about CAP score is that it's using Bayes theorem. It's incorporating the prior knowledge of what's the proportion of bots out there, and then combine that with the bot score and generate a probability. Basically, it's saying, given me have a score of 1.3 out of 5, the probability of me being a bot is 2%. So you can, that's we think it's helpful for our user to understand, what's going on here. Okay, that's all the scores here, and let me show you more of the features here. So here you can see several buttons. The first one is the profile. It's really simple. You can click it and it will lead you to the Twitter page of the user you are checking. In this case, it's myself. And this one, if you click it, it's gonna basically let you tweet something about ourselves. For example, it says, "Oh, is me a bot? Check with Botometer." So basically a social media share button here. The third button is the detail. This is probably my favorite. What it does is you can click this and it's gonna give you a sort of a dashboard of all the useful information about this account. For example, you can have the screen name, you can have the display name, all the metadata, and plus you can also have some of the numbers, number of tweets, some of the following followers, likes, and lists. The really nice thing here, I think, is this are those two figures. For example, for this one, it's showing for the last 200 tweets, when do I tweet most in each day of the week? you can see that looks like I'm I tweet pretty much on Tuesday, but not like not so much on Sunday. And similarly, in this figure, you are having, the tweets by hour of the day. And you can clearly see, probably I'm sleeping during the midnight and 10 a.m. And in the daytime, I tweet more. This one is useful for me because sometimes I'm doing some investigation of some maybe suspicious accounts. I can go here and sometimes once you see those numbers and those figures, it becomes really clear why this account is probably not a real human. It's probably some algorithm, some automation behind. So that's the details. Okay, we're back. The last button is called the feedback. So this is really useful. You can click it and you can say, the thing is when you're checking an account and you think our result is not accurate, you can send us feedback. For example, you can here choose to say, oh, this account is clearly a bot, and you can tell me why you think so. The reason we have this is because, like all the other machine learning tools, Botometer is not perfect. Even though we are doing really good in our test, it still make mistakes. And in order to keep improve the tool, what we do is, every 1 or 2 years, we try to get more annotated data set, and we try to get new models, and we're going to retrain the model so that the model keep evolve to keep up with the real world. And for that purpose, if you can send us feedback, it will be really helpful and really appreciated. So that's the feedback feature. And so this is basically, some of the basic usage of Botometer. But there are something more I can show you. For example, I'm still checking myself, but this time instead of checking myself, I'm gonna check my friends. The friends is our accounts I follow, basically. So here is Diogo. So it's gonna, because currently we're having really heavy traffic. We're having about 500,000 requests every day. So the server is basically overloaded. So Botometer might be sort of not that fast, but still just wait a few seconds, you can get the results. So those are the people I follow. So once you click check friends, it's gonna basically have a queue of 20 accounts to check. I think I'm gonna stop. No, I'm not gonna stop, but okay, I'm gonna stop now. I'm gonna use Disney. This one I just follow for demonstration. So after I click this one, what you see is there's a new button called unfollow. Because I'm following this account, and you can just click unfollow and to simply unfollow this account. We think it's useful because some people just go on our website and check all their friends and simply unfollow all the suspicious ones. But there's one thing you probably want to know is that once you click unfollow, it's gonna ask you to authorize this app again, because remember earlier we only asked for the read permission, but in order to unfollow something, Botometer is going to need the write permission too. So this time it has much more things the application will be able to do. So if you are only going to check accounts, you don't have to worry about this. But if you want to unfollow or block someone on our website, you're gonna have to do this. We know some of our users might be kind of skeptical of this, but you can actually check the source code of our website. We don't do anything other than what we said we're gonna do. So you can take my word and trust us. So I'm not gonna click this because otherwise I'm gonna unfollow this one, but you get the idea. Similarly, I can also check my followers. So it's gonna, it just deauthorized me again, so I have to authorize that. But anyway, I can also check my followers. Looks like I have some new followers here. Oh, for the followers, if you click here, it becomes block. So similarly, you can block them. So that's that. So I'm gonna stop here. Let me refresh. So just now, I just show you, I'm checking myself, but in fact, you can also do some checking of any other account you want. For example, I'm gonna use the official account of the General Motor as an example. So first, I can check the user of this account. It's gonna take a while. Okay, it's out. It looks like this account is fine, but I can check the follower of this account. Suppose this is some account you are interested in. You can use our Botometer to sort of do some simple, quick and dirty analysis here on the fly. Okay, we're getting some results. You can see, I don't know why, but this account, every time I check it, it has some new followers, and some followers might be kind of suspicious. And you can see all of the subscore are sort of in red, which is maybe some, red flag there. I guess I will stop now. So another thing I want to show you is, for example, this account. It says there's no timeline and it doesn't give you a score. That's because Botometer is going to need at least some data to do the evaluation. If the user haven't got any tweets whatsoever, it's not gonna work. And also it tells you, this account joined Twitter recently, so the score might be accurate. And similarly for this account, it says the account is not active, so the score might not be accurate. Again, it's the same reason, Botometer is going to need some information to do an accurate evaluation. If somehow the user just joined or is not active, without enough data, the estimation might not be accurate. So what's more is that, after you check all those accounts, you can actually export the data. So you can click the export data button here, and you can save the file. What it gives you is basically, all the JSON file behind those numbers. So I'm gonna quickly show you what's in there. So this is the data I just download. You can see it's simply a JSON file of all the scores of each user. I have I don't know, maybe 10 users there. You can have their screen name, you have their ID string, their language, the subscores, the English score, the language independent score is called universal here. And the CAP score. And they also give you some simple statistics of those accounts. So if you really want to, save the data, you can simply do that. All right, I think that's my kind of introduction to the Botometer hands-on. I think once, if you have a Twitter account, you should be able to do this real quick. And I really suggest you, use this time to sort of at least try it and get a feeling of how it works. And a little bit something about this website. For example, we also have a FAQ section. Those are the really frequently asked questions. If you have some question, you can go here first. Probably you're gonna find your answer easily. And if you don't, you can always contact us. And we also have an API section. It gives you the information of our API. So in fact, later this afternoon, I'm gonna give you another introduction to how to access our API. It's gonna need some basic knowledge of programming, but in order to do research for analyzing large-scale data set, it's gonna be necessary. But you can, if you want to use the API, this is the starting point. And we have a page for our publication papers basically associated with Botometer. If you use our tool, please cite our work. And we have a link to the so-called bot repository where we share all the annotated data set so that other people can also do research, use this data. And there are other things you can try by yourself. Okay, I think that's all I have for this part. I think before next session, we have a couple minutes. I think we're gonna. Oh, sorry, we're gonna have a short break after this session, and we will be back at 2:55, and where Diogo will give you a hands-on introduction to Hoaxy. And during this break, please try our tool. And if you want to create accounts like I introduced before, or send your Twitter handle to me, please do that. And we'll be back in a couple minutes.
Wait, Kevin, there's a question for you.
One or two questions.
Oh, sorry. There are questions. Okay. I think I'm sharing the screen, so I cannot see that. So if somebody can,
you can stop share. But the question is, how does it perform in non-English case? Is there any specific language you would advise caching for?
Sorry, can you repeat?
The question is regarding the precision or the performance of Botometer in non-English language. Is there any specific language that that Botometer doesn't work at all?
We didn't do such evaluation, but I think based on other people's study, Botometer tend to be less accurate when working on non-English accounts. That's really unfortunate, but that's the case. And but still, in our own test, it's still good. But you always have those issue of generalization, or when you have new kind of novel type of accounts in the wild that's not similar to your training data set. For any machine learning tool, it's not gonna work really well. But actually, we do have a plan. Actually, we're working on it to introduce a new model that can, at least according to our test, will do better in that case. And please stay tuned. I would say, yeah. If we don't have any, yeah.
As Kevin mentioned, and also on the chat, even though that we know that probably for non-English the precision is a little bit slower, the website already showed two scores. So one, that don't ignore like features based on the language. You have like the international score.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Noor, who is also in this meeting, is actually the creator of Botometer. Okay, I guess we will take a short break and we'll be back in 4 minutes, I guess, yeah.
Okay, probably they're seeing, but I need to check every time if you're seeing my screen. So the second part, the second hands-on, is about Hoaxy. So what is Hoaxy? So the idea of Hoaxy is try to provide some, I'm just skipping here the tutorial, but if it's the first time that you are using, probably very important thing to do is to read the tutorial. Like at first, there are so many features. Let me just start my timer here. So there are so many features and things that you can do with Hoaxy. It's a good idea to read the tutorial. So the idea is here, like try to visualize the spread of misinformation, like claims and fact checking, and see how they spread on social media, especially on Twitter. As you can see, Hoaxy is just like a searching engine. But there are two very important pieces here. So you can see there is like Twitter search and article search. So this is the most fundamental thing about Hoaxy. So let me start about articles. So what is this about? So there is like already very well known list of websites that are satirical or known to be usually spreading disinformation, or they are usually creating conspiracy theories. And these labels are not like created by us. We collect from many well-known science papers. So you can find on Help. If you go to Help, FAQ, you see, you will find like the list of websites. Let's see if I can find here. Well, I couldn't find here, but there is a list here where we find the list. I think we use between 100 and 500 different websites labeled by others that are known to be less credible or less low credibility. So the idea here is what? We have a list of sites that are known to be low credibility, and there is a list of sites that are known to be fact checkers. So what we do, we keep tracking any claim generated or any article generated by this list of websites. And then when you get the URL for these articles, we look at Twitter. So every mention, every retweet, every mention that happened on Twitter referring to any of these articles, we keep tracking and save that. So in the end, what is the Hoaxy data set? So in addition to the articles, like we have claims that the claims here, we don't want to call like fake news because not all articles generated by some of these websites are fake, but in general they are known to be fake. So the website as a whole is labeled as low credibility. So we are not the ones saying that this is true or false, but this is just like the credibility of the source. So we have the list of these articles that can be from claim or just a fact checker, and any tweet mentioned this. While if you search on Twitter, then this thing here, the search buttons and everything else, will become a search on Twitter. So everything that you can search on Twitter, you can use here. You have like the traditional way of getting data from Twitter. You can get just the most recent, the most popular, or mix. You can filter by language. You can use some Boolean operators, the same way that you use on Twitter. Someone just got me the list. Thank you, PicMine. Just show here. So this is the list of low credibility source that we track, and you can see here where we get this list. So science papers, PNAS, and so on. Over here we have the list is more than 100. You can check later. So let me get back to Hoaxy.
Yeah, sorry, real quick interrupt. The list start with 500 something low credibility domain, but a lot of them are not active anymore. Here we show the about 100 that's still really active currently here, and that's this is a list Hoaxy is tracking.
Thank you. So this is like the main difference. When you do the search here, the result that you see is somewhat similar. You're going to see networks, and these networks are Twitter accounts, and they are connected if they are mentioning each other, if they are retweeting each other. But the source can be completely different. So from Twitter, you do a live search using the search API, Twitter search API, or if you are going to articles, you go into our web service and our database that we are collecting, I think, since 2016, probably. Okay, so let me start. And again, also we have like this dashboard here, this thing that can show what are the current based on the last 30 days. What are the popular claims? The claims that have been retweeted the most. Also, what are the fact checks that are being shared the most. And here we have like a dashboard. In the dashboard, we have a little bit more information about what are the claims, the number of tweets related to each claim, not only claims, but also fact checks. You have like influential accounts who are, again, everything that you can see here is based on the articles, based on what we are tracking. So let's do some search. And in the beginning, Kevin said that if you want to use Hoaxy the same way that you use Botometer, you need to give permission. But it's just partial permission. Like if you are using article search, you don't need to give any permission because we are using the data that we have. However, if you use Twitter, then we're gonna, as soon as you hit the search, we're gonna collect data live from Twitter. So in that case, we need your permission. So let me just show an example here. So I'll get a popular claim. I'm searching for articles. It's free for you. And let's just search. So what do you see here? You can see while the graph is loading, you can see that in this side you have the timeline. And the timeline refers since the article appeared in the database and how it evolves a long time, how many Twitter was appearing. You can select some specific time here if I just want to see that window frame, what's going on there. Also, you can, I want to this now, let the graph open. So what we can see, a lot of information. Let's see what's the best way to start. Let the graph still loading. Maybe I scroll a little bit here, animation. Yeah, it's going on. So as I said before, every node here is a Twitter account, and they are connected if they retweet, mention, I don't know if like, but reply, quote, whatever. And the arrow is the flow of the information. So for instance, if I tweet something and you retweet, you have an arrow from me to you, because like the information is flowing from me to you, right? And here is like it's a kind of dynamic or interactive plot. You can interact, you can click on the node, and you see, for instance, this one is the center of this network. So probably was the one who shared the initial link. And you can see a lot of information. Oh, before I go this, so you see that all nodes here have color, and these colors are based on the bot score given by Botometer that Kevin just showed. So you can see here the distribution, or kind of the distribution to have some sense. So is this something that is shared or very impersonated by bots or no? So this can give you some sense what's going on, who is sharing this piece of information. But as I said, so you can click on the node, and then from the node you see not only the bot score, but you also can update. You can see when this bot score was calculated, or you can give feedback, or you ask for updates, and you can see like this was quoted or was retweeted. You can find details of every link. So for instance, I can see what was the tweet that shared this article that we are looking right now. And then you go for Twitter and you see exactly what was the tweet, right? So you can also explore the edge itself. So instead of click on the link, you can click on the edge. And the edge will show exactly. So this was a tweet, and this was like a retweet by someone else. And you can explore again the links will lead you to Twitter, and you can see the whole picture. So just to show the difference between the two types of search, like articles and Twitter. So you can see here that the first Twitter appeared on July 9th, right? So if I just switch, let's switch for Twitter and do the same search. So in here we are searching on Twitter reference to that URL, the URL of that article, or matching to this text. And you see that the result will be slightly different. Now you can see there are a lot more of bots. You can see that the diffusion network is much more reddish somehow. But the point is, we cannot go back as far as we go before. So here you can see like the last one goes only up to July 12th. And that's a limitation of the Twitter search API. Using Twitter search API, you can only look like last week. And so this is a huge difference. If you want to search something in the past, you cannot use Hoaxy, especially the Twitter search of Hoaxy, to look in the past. But if you want to go in the past, you have to look for articles. So what else we can do here? Something that we need to tell is like, because of performance, we only show up to 1,000 accounts here. So sometimes you have networks or things that are spreading that are very, very huge, and we cannot show everything. So we use K-core to prune out some accounts. But let's go back to articles, because I think this is the main goal of so let me do another search. This is I really like this example. And something that you have to keep in mind, the idea of hoax is tracking not only the claims, but the fact check, and possibly to see how these two things go together. So every time you do a search here, what you see, there is like here articles, visualize it. So this, when you hit this button, you see all the articles, like remember that we are tracking a list of low credibility sites and a list of fact checkers. So any of these websites that have reference to whatever you search, you show here. So we have many different articles matching that query. So for instance, at that point, I was just showing a claim. Now I want to mix both of them. I want to see the claim and the fact check and see how these two articles are being shared together. So let's see what's gonna happen here. Now we can already see that there are two types of edges. So the gray one are edges from claims, like you are sharing low credibility sort, and the yellow one are sharing of fact checks. And you can see like from the timeline that the low credibility is much more popular. There are many more shares from the low credibility than from the fact check, even though they started almost at the same time. See, both of them, like as soon as you have like the fake news or the low credibility or the claim, you have a fact check debunk that claim. But even though they do not get the same attention from the public. And what is very interesting here is like these two sets of people or two sets of accounts, those who are sharing low credibility and those who are sharing fact checks, they are kind of segregated, separate together. So there is a lot of accounts down here, they are sharing fact checks, and there is a lot of other people that are only sharing the claims. And that's a problem because we think, okay, so if we just increase the number of fact checks, then we can solve the misinformation problem. And I'm not sure if that's the case, because the problem is this network sometimes is so dense, so connected that they are in echo chambers essentially. So they can't see what is in this other network, right? So we have someone in the center here that receive both information, but let's see who is this account. And this is Donald Trump. So we can play like the timeline to see how was the spread, so who started, so started there, Prison Planet, with this allegation of the election was manipulated by some alien voters, and then they mentioned Donald Trump. Oops. I'm running out of time. So let's see what I missed here. The important, there is still a lot of other details that we can use here in Hoaxy. Like you can update bot score. Also you can play with the layout to see just the timeline or just the network. As the same way as we have in Botometer, we can export this data in different types. We can share the picture in the social media and you can embed. I think it's mostly this. One last thing that I want to emphasize here is like Hoaxy also have an API. We won't show in the second part because it's not as much used as BotSlayer and Botometer, but it has an API. If you go here at the FAQ, there is like the links to the API, so you can search these articles. You can get not the Twitter IDs related to those search. Okay. So let me stop. Let me see if I can. I'll stop and see if there is any question.
Okay, I think there are two questions. First one is asking, is Botometer and Hoaxy open source? I think I can answer that. Botometer is not, but Hoaxy is open sourced. And you can find the link from the FAQ, I guess, or you can ask us later. In fact, we have some friends in Italy who are using our Hoaxy to collect data and had a paper, and I think they also have a presentation maybe tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, actually. So it's pretty useful. Okay. The second question is, can we specify a time period for which search query is relevant?
The answer is no.
Yeah, we cannot. Yeah.
Like
you can go ahead.
A little bit like relevant based on the number of Twitter, or focus more on the recent, but there's no such fine control. But the thing here that you have to keep in mind is like the strong limitation on the Twitter part, because Twitter allows you to go at most to 7 days. But if you have a lot of tweets, you probably can get just 1 day of the query. So that's the main drawback of using Twitter. And because of that, like, we are tracking this misinformation, but we really would like you to have access to this for whatever is what you're trying to track. And that was the motivation to create BotSlayer. So BotSlayer is kind of, let's get all of these, let's get Hoaxy, let's get the integration with Botometer, and you choose whatever you want to track. So you have the data, you can go back in the past without being dependent on just one week window. Any other question? Yeah, by the way, the Hoaxy dataset is not related to the OSoMe dataset. Like the 10% sample is something, and here is just related to this track. Like we start tracking those 2 lists of websites, and from those websites we go to Twitter tracking the URL. So it's unrelated to the OSoMe.
I think we have a new question. Can you find it? It asks, the fact check feature, is it a kind of a news article shared for a given claim? Does Hoaxy rank the claims? In other words, provide a veracity score?
No, we don't make any assumption or score about the veracity. The only thing we do, like, we track those websites. They are labeled as low credibility by third parties. But other than that, we just, that's why we don't say that they are fake news or true, because we know that sometimes fact check cannot be 100% reliable, or sometimes even the low credibility website can share true news, right? So we just track. The only label that we do is from the list. It's not, we not label the news per se, but we label the source. So everything that comes from those lists, you say that's claim, and everything that comes from the fact check is a news from the fact check.
I think there's a follow-up question asking, do we use low credibility information as supplementary information, right?
I don't understand.
Yeah, me neither.
I guess there may be a fundamental like question of what the visualization are showing. So the articles that we use to generate those visualization, they are from websites that either we label as unsubstantiated, like unsupported claims, or website that we label as fact-checking website that are reliable, that are set up by journalists who devote their effort into fact-checking news that they think are worth checking. So we per se um, don't fact-check ourselves or define a veracity score like what Diogo is saying. We don't define them.
And then just getting back to the initial idea. So the idea is of this entire tutorial is like, how can we use these tools to detect manipulation and to detect misinformation? So like when you do one search and you see one of those networks, it might not be clear to, oh, is this legit or not? But as you start using the tool, you see the different shape and the difference in the spikes. So there are some lot of bots trying to propagate something or retweet something. So this can give you some sites when there is some manipulation going on or not. Right? Yes, the Botometer. So, and that's, I mentioned earlier that if you just use the Hoaxy article search, you don't need to give permission, right? Only if you do like the Twitter search. There is another possibility that you need to give your permission is like if you try to update some score. So then in order to update a score, you need to go to Botometer, and Botometer will need your permission to get the Twitter that they will update the bot score. So the bot score are given by Botometer.
Yeah, I know. People are more skeptical about permission because of the recent hack on Twitter from third-party apps and social engineering and whatnot. So for Botometer, when you use Botometer, Botometer is collecting data on your behalf, and we don't save those data. This is the first thing. We don't save the tweets, but we save the score. Um, so in order to collect those data, we need your permission, and um, we only need read permission because we are only gonna read those timelines of the users, and therefore we don't want to change the setting or change whatever on your account.
And by the way, someone asked earlier if you have a cache. So when you are on the Botometer website, you never use cache, but in some sense we have some sort of cache since we save to use on Hoaxy, because it would be impossible to handle like showing the network with those scores. So we use some sort of cache, but not on Botometer per se. Every time you go.
So in some sense, the website doesn't have cache, but in the backend database, we have some kind of things that are very similar to a cache.
And also, I was reading again the question. So I'm not sure if you answered your question or if you were asking more details about Botometer algorithm. If that was the case, Kevin can talk a little bit more, but in general, we use random forest.
Hi everybody, I'm Pikmai Hui, and I'll be presenting to you BotSlayer. So BotSlayer is one of the tools in the OSoMe website, and I probably don't have to describe all the tools. We went over Botometer, we went over Hoaxy, and you can imagine that those are tools that you will use to sort of detect accounts that are automated and then try to find out what they're talking about over Hoaxy by reading over the bot's tweets and then look at what they're talking about, and then maybe punch in some query on Hoaxy to see if there is anything fishy going on. So this is kind of like a labor-intensive, iterative process that you'll be doing for your research topic. So I am thinking that a lot of people may be interested in this particular topic recently. So let's assume that we are trying to study Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter on Twitter. And therefore, the first thing that you should be thinking about, and I guess a lot of researchers will be sort of associated with the following story that I will be telling you, is, well, you have to collect data. Collecting tweets from Twitter can be easy or hard depending on how experienced you are in terms of programming. If you are, then you are pretty good to go. But if you're not, then the first thing you need to do is to pick up a programming language. So you go online and search for example, Python tutorial. You go through all these coding tutorial and sort of figure out how to code in a specific programming language. And then you go on and find libraries that will work to sort of collect data from Twitter, right? And let's not forget that you have to also register for a Twitter account and such and such. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so let's not forget that you have to sort of go to Twitter and then register for the developer account, get an app key set up, and go on and collect your data. So all these takes time, and then you go on and then you go on and do your actual coding. So there are a bunch of setup, bunch of learning, and then you go on and do a bunch of coding, you do some debugging, and after a long, long time, you finally get your stuff to work. You start collecting data, and you finally realize that you're sitting on a bunch of data. Now what? We want insight. Data is just the first step of those insights for our research that we will be using to write our paper or for other purpose. So now what, after you have a bunch of tweets? Well, you start using, as I said, Botometer, tools like Botometer or Hoaxy or some tools that you prefer, or some other analysis. You start doing a bunch of analysis iteratively, labor intensive. And if you're lucky, you'll be, for example, you'll be seeing something like this. This is, and hopefully you'll get something like this when you're lucky, which is like a very large scale automated attack to some specific user. But after all this, you write your paper, you're pretty much very, very tired. A bunch of work done, you feel satisfied, but you're tired. And now you have the second topic in your mind, which is what I created, offhand, avocado. But now you have to repeat the whole process that you just gone through, all those work, all those analyses, just have to repeat it, those labors. So we realize that we repeat this process a lot of times, and therefore we don't want you to repeat what we have done. And certainly if you are not keen on developing or programming, probably it's a huge opportunity cost to try to learn those skills. And after you repeat those and learning again, and it's just too much, okay? And therefore, we present a tool which we call BotSlayer, which essentially does all the things that we just mentioned to you. It's data collection plus using Botometer to check the account, plus linking to Hoaxy to provide visualization of the tweets that we have collected, and do campaign detection, which will lead to a result like this. This is actually a campaign a malicious campaign that is detected by BotSlayer. So what happens is BotSlayer will filter out things that it thinks is malicious, and then you sort of go over them, and one of them is this. And if you dig deeper into what the tweets are actually about, it goes to a link of a YouTube video that's posted by this account. And notice this link. If you go a little bit deeper, this seems to be a Russian lawyer, and therefore you apparently have something that's about an American figure posted by a Russian lawyer that seems to be a propaganda, and it is going through a huge bot net to push this message. So I believe that this is what a lot of people want to do, and we do this very often, trying to find malicious campaigns online on Twitter, and we believe that this should be something that everybody can do if we provide the right tool, and BotSlayer would be the tool to do that. So we provide this tool on Amazon Web Service so that everybody who have an account can go and register a machine. And then if you're more technically capable, then we also provide Docker container. Now go into the, because I don't have much time. So I'll just show you roughly the website. So this is a live instance of BotSlayer, which we set up for this query here, which is Black Lives Matter.
Sorry,
tweets.
sorry,
Yeah,
you are not sharing the BotSlayer screen.
Oh, okay. Let me go ahead and.
You probably have a multiple screen there.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. So
okay.
this is like a public link that we have set up that everybody can hit. I'm not going to show you the link for now. We may be releasing it later. It's still testing, in the testing phase, but it's collecting tweets about Black Lives Matter related hashtags and protest related hashtags. So you can see these entities being ranked by BS level, which is our measure of how suspicious each entity are, which can be hashtag links, pictures, and whatnot. Now, one very critical feature that we have beside this estimate of how suspicious things are, which is pre-sorted, we provide links to Hoaxy. And if you click on these links, for example, the left link is very important. It will extract tweets that is collected by BotSlayer. So those tweets belongs to you. It will port these tweets into Hoaxy and try to visualize the network. This is a small network. It will try to visualize the network as if you are using Hoaxy in real time, but the difference is it's using the tweets that's collected by BotSlayer. An advantage of this is that BotSlayer collects tweets and saves the tweets in a database, and therefore you can go back in time, which is something that you cannot do on a simple Hoaxy that you usually use. You can go back in time and tell BotSlayer to provide tweets for visualization that's dating back to a week ago, maybe, or if your machine is large enough, it can date back 2 weeks ago, even. And that's an advantage that you cannot get from simply using Hoaxy. And everything is the same. So here, after this, we also provide things that you can, channels that you can search over for this entity. For example, tear gas, you can search on Google and see what's about tear gas, but something more particular like a link, you may be able to search for those links. Maybe this YouTube link on Google, it actually has 2 links, etc. And Reddit and 4chan. We added 4chan because we know that a lot of stuff are happening on 4chan, but we don't recommend that you open it at work. It's kind of risky. And also you can sort by other stuff, like in particular coordination and botness. Botness is our estimate of how much automated activity are involved in the propagation of this entity. And coordination is our measure roughly on how coordinated those accounts are in terms of pushing a single message around that content here. So this is kind of like a crash course. Of course, there are a lot of more things like export, and then you can go back in time, but I don't have time to show them now. So if you're interested, we'll find time, hopefully after we go through the installation of BotSlayer, which is in a high level, a software that you install in a machine. So you install it in your own machine, and it collects data onto your own machine. So after we go through those steps, we'll go into more details if we have enough time onto specifically how to use BotSlayer for your research. And if you have a little question, feel free to just punch them on the chat. So thank you very much. I'll hand over to Kai Cheng. And since we don't have much time, I propose that we skip the break.
Welcome back. We're sorry about the situation, but let's continue. In this section, I'm gonna show you step by step how to access the API of Botometer. For this to work, we're gonna need some basic programming. So I think I'm gonna be faster than I practiced. So before I start, in order for this part to work, in order to access the Botometer API, we're gonna need, first of all, Twitter developer app key, which I think I already helped a couple of people adding them to our team, and they should be able to create Twitter apps now. And we also need a Rapid API account, and we're going to use Python to do that. Before I start, let me do a simple introduction to how the API works. So here is the client, which is the user who are trying to get some bot score from Botometer. And supposedly you are using our official Python library. The Python library will help you handle things, but behind the curtain, it works like this. When you want to get a score for account, first of all, the first step, the Python library will go to Twitter API and fetch the account information, just like the web page. It's gonna get the most recent tweets and other tweets mentioning this user. After the client get the information, it's gonna send it to Rapid API, where it's gonna do some validation and also take care of the rate limit. And then the Rapid API will forward the data to our server, the Botometer server hosted at IU, and the server is going to evaluate, do some evaluation based on the information and produce some scores. And then the score will be sent back to Rapid API and then further sent back to the client. So this is how it works. So in order for the whole thing to work, you need to have, like I said, you have to have a Rapid API account and also have to have a Twitter API key. Okay, let's start. So again, just like using the web page, you can start from our website, but this time we're gonna go to the API page, API page directly. So here you're gonna find all the information you need. So first, let's follow this link. It leads you to the Botometer API page on Rapid API. So just open link. It's gonna take a while. Okay, we are in. So this is gonna be the Rapid API page for our Botometer API, which we called it Botometer Pro. So from this page, you can see a lot of information. For example, you can read the documentation for the API. You can follow this link, but I'm not gonna go through it. And they also have some introduction to how you can interact with this. Okay, it's asking me to sign in. So I guess what I'm gonna do is, because I already have an account myself, I'm gonna sign in here. Okay, I'm in. So this time I'm signed in. The page is more or less the same. So the first thing you need to do, if you come here first, you need to subscribe to at least one of our plan. So we just go to the pricing tab, and here you're gonna see 3 different plans. So if you're just trying to test our API, we suggest you go with the basic plan, which allows you to check 2,000 accounts every day, but it's totally free and you don't need to put in your credit card or anything. So you can just simply click select plan, and now you are subscribed. So if later you find our API is really helpful and you want to get more scores, and you can choose the Pro or the Ultra plan, which will gonna have ask you to put in your credit card information. But for this demonstration, we're gonna stick to the basic plan. So after we subscribe to the plan, you basically are all set at the Rapid API side. So the one thing you need to remember is that you want to copy your Rapid API key, which is this one. You can copy the key here, actually. I don't think you can copy this one directly, but they have some code snippets, and you can copy your Rapid API key here. We're gonna come back to this later. So let's go back to the Botometer webpage. The next thing you need is a client, or we recommend to use our Botometer Python library, which you're gonna install in your local machine, and you're gonna use it to interact with our API. So if you follow this link, it's gonna lead you to a GitHub page where we host this package. It's completely open source, and it has all the information. So we're gonna just skip that. You can, if you're interested, you can read all the information later. So we're gonna start here, which is the introduction for quick start. It's gonna ask you to install the package in your command line. So now I'm gonna switch to my command line. So I'm already in my working directory. I have my Python environment all set up. What I need to do is, I can copy this command and paste and run. What it does is it's gonna install the package Botometer for me. You can see it says the requirement already satisfied. That's because I already installed the package. But you can still follow this instruction. So in order to make sure it's installed, I can go in Python and try to install Botometer, import Botometer, and it's not complaining. It means the package is ready to go. So now we are almost ready to start interacting with the API. So for that purpose, I'm gonna use Jupyter Notebook for the demonstration. But in general, you can write a script to do this. So I'm gonna run Jupyter Notebook. It's gonna open a new thing. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna create a new Python 3 notebook. So pretty standard stuff. So now we can start try to get scores from our API. What we can do is follow the instruction on the GitHub. So here we have some example code you can follow. It's pretty easy, just copy everything over. So I'm gonna have a different style for this one. First, I need to import import Botometer, and everything seems fine. And then I need to set up all the keys here. So you can see in this part, you're gonna need to set up two different things. First is the Rapid API key. If you still remember, just now we registered the Rapid API and we subscribe to the plan, and then we have a Rapid API key here. So just copy this key to your code, replace the XXX, and this part it should be ready to go. And next part is the Twitter app key. Again, for security issue, I'm not gonna show you that, but you can go to your Twitter developer page, and if you already created an app for that, you can access the key and tokens. So on that page, you're gonna see this. You're gonna have we're gonna need the consumer key, but now it's called API key, and we need the consumer secret. It's now called API secret key. So just copy these two things to this location and to this location, and also we're gonna need the access token and access token secret. This thing, Twitter is not gonna show you anymore unless it's the first time you generate that. So you need to store those two things by yourself. But again, if you have them, you can copy them to the location here. Here, what I'm gonna do is, I'm not gonna show my app keys. Instead, I'm gonna, I have a local sort of a configuration file called Twitter key. It's a JSON file. So this one has all my keys in there. So here is the template. It's gonna look like this. It have just the consumer key, consumer secret, access token, access token secret. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read this. Okay, so now I load my Twitter app key into this variable called Twitter key, literally. So it's a dictionary. It has all the things I need. What I'm gonna do is just put them in the right location. But for simplicity, you can just copy the keys directly here. But in production, we don't suggest that. You should take care of your app keys to keep it safe. Okay, now I basically have all my keys, Rapid API key and Twitter app key ready. So now I think we are ready to go. So again, you are using this code, just copy it here. This line's code tells you to basically initialize a instance of the Botometer class, and it has all the keys passed in, and it's gonna be called bomb. And what we need to do is we just run this block. And now we can start to check account. So here I'm gonna use Clayton's Twitter account. He is also a creator of Botometer, but he graduated. So let's run this code. All right, just like the web page, it's gonna take 2 to 4 seconds to get the result, but looks like we're good. So you can print the result here. As you can see, this is the bot score you get from the API. So after all the configuration, it becomes much easier, right? You can just for each account you are interested in, you can use this line of code to get a score out of it. And you can see it has all the information there. You have the CAP score, which is a probability using the prior knowledge of how much accounts are bots are there. and together with the score, and you have all the subscores, and you have the display scores. Display scores are just the score you see on our website. So they are simply, the raw score multiplied by 5, because, we don't want them to look like a probability. And you have your overall score, the English score, which is the score that you use in all the information, all the features, including the language dependent features. And you have the universal score, which is the language independent score. And you have some information about the user, have the ID string, you have the screen name. So that's gonna be how you access our API, essentially. And the nice thing about it is you can use the screen name to do the checking, and you can also use the user ID actually, because sometimes it's easier to deal with. And for some users, they may change their screen name, but their user ID will be the same. So for the API, you can focus on the user ID. So similarly, you just use the same method, check account, and run it, and it's working. It's gonna take some time. Okay, looks like the result is back. Similar to this one. So either way, which one you prefer. Also, earlier I got some email asking, how I can check multiple accounts. Unfortunately, currently the Botometer API doesn't support check accounts in bulk, but you can still write a for loop by yourself, or we provide another method called check accounts in. So basically what you do is you first have a list of different account screen names, and you pass this list into this method, and you can for loop this. So I guess what I'm gonna do is let's run this. But although it seems that we are checking multiple accounts at the same time, what it does is still, it's running a for loop at the end, and it's gonna, get the information from Twitter for each account and send the information to our server and get the score back one by one. But essentially you can start to build your app or your analysis based on this. Okay, I guess that's all the demonstration I want to do today. I prepared a little bit more, but since we have some situation, I guess I'll skip that because I think I already show you, how you can use our official Python library to interact with our API.
Just a quick question, Kevin. So regarding
yes?
this method, that when you use like a list of accounts, you always get the full set of accounts, like you have a result for everyone, right? Like in this example, the Jabberwock, you got an error, you don't have the bot score for this account, but even though you get the reply from that, right? There's no
sorry.
Like if I ask five accounts, I always get reply for the 5 accounts, or it's possible to not get a result at all?
It's possible. For example, one account doesn't have a timeline, it will give you an error.
Okay.
So it could happen. So you still need to handle those errors on your side. So yeah.
Also, we have a question like asking what is the suggestion for cutoff between what is bot or is not?
Sorry, you mean the threshold or?
Yeah, the threshold.
Cutoff. Threshold. That's actually a good question. So the best practice is actually, when you are analyzing certain accounts, we suggest that you do some annotation by yourself. So you can have some human and some bots that you think are bots, and then you can use our tool, to get a score for those accounts. And then you can, based on your annotation, you can select the best cutoff that, produce the best results. But, we understand that could be a little bit more work. So in practice, what we do is, most of the time we will use 0.5 as our threshold. So, if an account have so we're talking about a raw score here. It's not multiplied by 5, so it's a score between 0 and 1. So you can use 0.5, which is half of the range. And if an account have a score larger than 0.5, you can think it as a bot, and less than 1, you can think it as a human. But sometimes, we do see other people having more aggressive or more conservative threshold. For example, you can use 0.7, or some people use 0.3. So it all depends on the situation. But again, the best practice is maybe you can do some annotation by yourself, and that way you can choose the best one. Okay. Hope this answers the question.
Just to add on top of that, sometimes I will plot the histogram of the scores. If you have like a set of users that you're looking at, you plot all the scores that you get back from the Botometer, and then sometimes you'll see like clear two-group separation, right? So I guess 0.5 is like the rule of thumb, and then if you don't want to do labeling, then you would plot a histogram and then sort of decide based on your case and your study. And if you have time and you want to spend the effort, you can go and try to label the users.
And also, just one more comment regarding the CAP score. So if you usually think, oh, if I should choose the bot score 0.5 means that I'm choosing 50%. Again, no, the bot score is not probability. And the CAP score is the probability of having a completed automated account. So it's not only, oh, you are very likely, but is this account always automated? If you have any kind of mixed or sideboard interaction, that's not what CAP's giving to you. So that's why usually CAP is really low, because it's really, really hard to find among the entire population account that is 100% automated.
I think you already answered the question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Do we have more questions about this? Okay, Phil is also here. Thank you, Phil. So I guess that's all from me today. We do have some updates that's coming soon. For example, right now our server is kind of overloaded, but we actually have a new server ready. And hopefully, after we migrate to the new server, it's gonna be faster. We are also working on a new machine learning model. So if you are interested, we actually have a poster session about that on July 18th. It's called Detection of Novel Social Bots, and we hopefully gonna update our model soon. So please stay tuned. And also for the API only, we're gonna add a new endpoint, what we call Botometer Lite endpoint. This one will allow you to quickly do evaluation of many accounts at the same time. And we have a presentation on July 20th in the social media one session. So for, if you want to get the most recent update from us, you can, go to our website, botometer.org, or you can follow us on Twitter. We have an official account called literally Botometer. So I think that's all from me. Thank you.
I have one more question. So how do you
okay.
accuracy of Botometer?
A good question. So Botometer is what we call a supervised learning machine learning model. what we do is, first of all, we have a bunch of a couple thousand, actually tens of thousands of annotated accounts with both like human accounts and the bot accounts. And for the current version of the Botometer, what we do is we use a technique called cross-validation. So we train our model on a portion of the data, and then we test our model on the rest of the data, annotated data, and our accuracy is made based on the rest of the annotated data. So that's how we calculate the accuracy of a Botometer for the current version.
And all results are already published, right? You can find the details.
Yes, you can see all the the details of the model, the features, the accuracy, the result in our paper. You can find the paper on the Botometer.org website. Yeah.
And before we start everything, so in a high level, I'll be walking through the steps that you will be doing to set up a BotSlayer machine for yourself. The whole process, if assuming that you are doing it over Amazon Web Service, if you already have an account. Now, if you don't, then you can go register for one. That's pretty easy, and that doesn't cost you anything, actually, except that you have to put in credit card information. So before we do anything, any of those, I would strongly encourage you to go onto our website, which I'm going to punch into the chat for BotSlayer, and click on the page, and we have a end user license agreement, which basically say what you can do and what you cannot do with our tool. And after you read it and you agree with it, please submit this form so that we know that you agree with our agreement. So the information given after you submit this form will be very important because they are crucial for you. They're required for getting access to what's needed to install BotSlayer. So please do fill in this form before we start, and I'll give you like roughly 30 seconds to do it before we go ahead. So fill in the information, check, and then leave your comment and then submit. After you submit, you should be getting a response that gives you the information that you need. Okay, so assuming that you have finished submitting that form, you should be getting like a secret string and a password of such. Please copy those information down to somewhere, and we'll be starting going through our steps for installation. And as you can see, there are two installation options here that's listed on our official website. And I just noticed that on our tutorial, we also promised that we will give you an option for installing Mac on Mac. We do have that option, which is in development. And for this tutorial only, we'll provide you with that installation option that's not yet out to the public, so that you can get a taste of what's going to be available in our next release. And bear in mind that this Mac installation is using the current version of BotSlayer. So when we release a new version, if you keep using this installer, you will be still installing the old version of BotSlayer. So please be prepared that we will be releasing the next new version of BotSlayer. It's still in development, hopefully soon. So the first option we'll go over is the Amazon Web Services. But before we go into this, I'll share the link with you for people who are wanting to install on Mac. I'll share the link, which is here. So this is a link of the installer for Mac. It's quite big, so it takes some time to download. So as we go over the Amazon Web Services, you can click on this link first. And since you have already agreed to the user agreement that we have, you can do so. You can click on this link and start downloading that installer. And this link will not be accessible after this tutorial because this is just for the demo purposes. And with that, let's start going through the Amazon Web Service instruction, which we have screenshots of step-by-step instruction on our official website. We're just gonna go do it according to this instruction. So first step, go onto Amazon Web Service. And if you don't have an account, create an account, but I do, and therefore I'm gonna log in. So after you log in, you should be seeing something like this, which is the Amazon Web Service Management Console. And you click on EC2, and then click on Launch Instance. Hopefully everybody is following. Click on Launch Instance here, and then click on Launch Instance again. So now you will be entering the secret string, right? The secret string, which you will get after you fill in the form that I just mentioned for saying that you agree with our terms of service and end user agreement. So paste in that string and then go into community AMI. Now, if you did not get to do that, I also have like an IC2S2 specific image that I have, which will be deleted after this demo. But since you have agreed to the end user agreement, you should have that string. If you have that string, just paste in that string and then go into community AMI. You should see another image that's also say BotSlayer. So select that. If you can't find that image, that may be because you are not in Ohio region for your Amazon Web Service, which you can just easily switch over. So remember that you have to be in US East, parenthesis Ohio, which is US East 2, to be able to find that Amazon machine image. So assuming that everybody is following, I'll go over and click select, which is right now we're at step 4. And step 5 is to select the type of machine that you want to set up. So for speed, I'm not going to explain what kind of trade-off there are. You can read in more details, but we're just going to select the default free tier, which costs nothing. Okay. So we'll go over to the next step. Now click next. Do not click the blue button. Click next, the gray one. And we'll be seeing this page here, which we do nothing and click next into add storage. Now for free tier, for free machine, the most you can get is 30 gigabytes. But if you can pay a little bit more, we actually recommend something like 100 gigabytes. But for demo purposes, let's go ahead with 30. Right now we're at step 7, just done with it. And on to step 8. Do nothing, but just click on the next button. So we'll click on the next button. Now we're on step 9, which tells you to do a bunch of copy pasting and clicking, right? So I'm just gonna show you what this says, which is first click on this, select HTTP, and then click again on add rule and change this to 9001. Copy the previous row on the source and copy it down here, which is basically if you enlarge this, it's what this says. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so after you're done, click review and launch, this is the last step. So we'll click review and launch and review the setting. We think this is right, and therefore we click launch, right? So we'll click launch here. Now, if you are new to Amazon Web Service, it will tell you to create a new key and download that file. This is very important. Once you create a new key pair and download that key file, keep it in a secure place and keep it safe. Don't forget about it. Remind yourself that that key exists, because without this key, you basically lost access to that machine that you just set up. So that's very important. And for us, we already have keys that we have created. So we'll go over and select one of the keys which we use for development and say, I've acknowledged that this is a private key file. And without this file, I won't be able to log into my instance. Yes, this is very important. And therefore, we'll launch the machine after agreeing to that. And now we're at step 12, which is this log that says that your machine is launching. We'll click this number here. That will bring you to the machine that is pending. Now it's starting up, right? And after loading a while, you'll see that this here at the bottom right will give you a bunch of numbers, right? Some numbers separated by 3 dots. This is the address that you will copy. So you can copy this, go up, and paste this in order to access your BotSlayer instance. So that's it. That's all it takes. Now, this takes some time to start. And if you don't wait enough, you just punch in now, for example. It probably won't give you anything. It takes some time to warm up, and you see the status check is initializing, right? So do wait for a while before you say that it doesn't work. After pasting this in, it doesn't work. What should I do? Just be patient and wait for a while. So now this is all it takes to set up a BotSlayer machine for people who are willing to set up an Amazon Web Service account. Now, what if you just want to try without set up an Amazon Web Service account? Then what you would do is to download the installer that I just shared with you, which is a Google Drive link, and go onto, as you're downloading, go onto Google and search for Docker, and click on Docker Desktop, and download it for your probably for you it's Mac OS, right? So download it for your OS. So this will allow you to launch a Docker container, which is another option that we provide for more technical user. But for Mac user, we also automate this process, like all this code into an installer, so that you can just double click on that installer. But in order to launch it, you have to have Docker Desktop installed. So first go into Google Docker, and then go into this page, download your Docker Desktop. After you download and install Docker successfully, double click on the installer, and that should set up BotSlayer for you. So let's check, go back and check on this. Hopefully this is working. Okay. Okay, after some waiting, I was, okay, so even me being a little bit impatient and worried. So it's working, and right now, BotSlayer as fresh will tell you that BotSlayer hasn't collected any data. Of course, it hasn't because we haven't told BotSlayer what to collect. And therefore, we'll click on config. So on top of this, there are options. The data is the data dashboard. And click on config, and this is a fresh instance, and therefore you can set up your password for that instance. For me, as a lazy person, this is demo, and therefore I'll just punch in some very simple password. And once I set it up, I can punch in the password again and log in. And now you get this page where you can set up things for BotSlayer to track. Normal things is normal stuff are words and hashtag and user handle that you can set up to track. Or if you want to follow a specific person and all the tweets that that person tweets, you can also enter the user ID. Now this is a little bit tricky. User ID is not equal to the user handle. So if you want to find, for example, you can go onto Google and search for user ID lookup. So that will give you like a site like this, and then you go on and say, okay, what's the user ID for GM? So this will give you this number here, and then you go back and copy and paste this in. So now BotSlayer will track all the tweets that that's from GM. Location is a location box, which is like the lat long, etc., bounding box. Okay. So this example here, it represents actually New York City. So if you know how to set it up, it will give you tweets that only come from that location. Now, tweets, a lot of the tweets, most of the tweets are not geographically annotated, and therefore this option will really really limit how much tweets you will collect. Even I tweet something at New York, if I decide to not say that I'm in New York, the tweet probably will not be annotated as being in New York, and therefore you will not get that tweet, even though I'm in New York, for example. So be aware of that. Of course, in order to collect tweets, you will have to have consumer key, consumer secrets, SS token, and SS token secrets, which are the things that Kevin just mentioned that you'll get from creating an app on your developer account on Twitter. So paste all this in and you're good to go, hit save, and from there, BotSlayer will be collecting tweets. So this is it, and just go back to what it looks like for working version of BotSlayer. It looks something like this. After collecting a bunch of tweets, it will look something like this. And usually, tweets comes in real time, and it takes about 4 to 8 hours, 8 hours to be safe, for BotSlayer to output something reliable. If you don't wait long enough, the analysis result may be inaccurate. We really recommend that you wait at least 8 hours to start looking at the dashboard here. In the background, this machine has been collecting tweets and saving tweets into database and doing analysis and such and such. So we really recommend that you, even though BotSlayer is working and may show you something, wait 8 hours before you go in and really dig into what it's showing. Now, for things that may look suspicious, for example, I'll just click on something here. A normal workflow is you look through the dashboard and click on something that you think are suspicious. You normally go through from the top to the bottom and click on things and look at what they're tweeting. Luckily, it's not something inappropriate. So it's a meme, I guess. So after going through this, you should get a rough idea of what things are people talking about in terms of the messages that that may be being pushed by automated accounts in a malicious campaign. And sometimes you'll be able to find things that are more like more clear cut, like the example that I showed you in the previous slides, where there are a bunch of red dots retweeting a single account. With that, I'll stop here. Any question? And I really hope that help you set up a BotSlayer instance. If you have any question, you can also follow up with email. We have with an email list for OSoMe, which I can probably share here. Docker. Yeah, we have an email list here, which you can go to on our official website of OSoMe and go to contact. At the top, there is this link here, which you can click and email us. So that's it.
Also, just before we finish, like I would like to thank you guys for staying all this time and even after the incident. And also like to make some advertise. So we have like postdoc positions here open, PhD positions. So if you are interested in be part of the team, enjoy and try to develop these tools and try to combat this thing that's going on, you are more than welcome. Not only here at IU, but I'll be joining like the University of Exeter in a few months, so you can have other options. So just write to us and be part of the team. Join us. If no more questions, I will stop here, and I'll try to cut the part of the video where we were bombarded before I did upload of the video.
Yeah, we are very sorry about the instance, and thank you very much for your patience.
Okay.
Well, with the last minutes, I'll show you something. So part of the advertisement, right? This is our campus. I think it's pretty beautiful. Here, it's nice weather too.
Always, but yes.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, thank you.